I've always felt some sentences hook into you like a fish hook. That one did, no permission asked. It happened at the rehearsal, down the long hallway at St. Michael's. Cold floor, the smell of candle wax braided with expensive perfume. The photographer raised her camera, and the bride's mother, Cynthia Hart, tablet in hand, pearls at her throat, started pointing folks in and out of the frame. When it got to me, she froze a toothpaste ad smile, turned my way, and in that sweet, sharp tone of people used to being obeyed, said I should step out. Her phrase was visual harmony. The detail that stuck was worse. Someone murmured, loud enough to land, "You ruined the photos." I stood there in a navy blazer and shined shoes, beard trimmed at Mr. Ford's, the gloss of pomade still taming my hair. I wanted to say a lot. Instead, I said only what would fit without anger. "It's okay, I'll step out." Jason, my son, looked at me biting his lip, a habit from when he was little, and said nothing. The bride, Madison, touched his arm the way someone does when they've already decided which flower matches, which napkin. Rick, my ex's husband, fiddled with his silver belt like tightening hardware could fix people. I went to the back row and watched the session the way you watch a window slam in the wind. The stained glass in the nave caught what was left of the afternoon, and the panes looked like they were sweating. And there I stayed, the father out of frame, a piece that didn't match the off-white navy and gold palette. I had no idea that sentence, "You ruined the photos," would push me toward a phone call that would turn the party inside out. If you've ever felt that lump in the throat kind of disrespect and wanted to calmly show where the line is, stay with me. What I did next changed everything. My name is Harold Whitman, but ever since the shipyard shop, everyone's called me Hal. When I told this story, I was 62, retired from electrical maintenance at the North Charleston yards. Life to me has always been a string of simple things done right. Clean tools, hot black coffee in the early morning, a newspaper folded with patience, the tide wind off the Ashley River reminding you nothing lasts forever. Jason grew up smelling like grease, laughing in the backyard, sandwich crumbling in his hand. His mother, Linda, and I split when he was still in school, and she moved on. Married Rick, insurance guy, bold stripes, salesman smile at month's end. I don't hold a grudge. People come factory set their own way. But when Linda married again, their house got bigger than my words. I ended up alone, but I never let my boy go without. Helped with college, the first car, the repairs he couldn't swing. I remember the call when he got into Chapel Hill. I was on the porch, radio low, the sky dragging rain, and he said it with a joy that rides a wire and arrives whole. "Dad, I got in." I cried quiet, like cleaning an electrical contact, all on the inside. Jason went into IT, likes headphones around his neck, a loud mechanical keyboard, and words that sound like fish names, Docker, Kubernetes, React. He works hard, pays his bills, never gave me trouble. No substances, nothing. Met Madison in a literature class, the kind I only know exist because people tell me. She's elegant in a calculated way. The right words, magazine smile, posture that says she'll look good in the picture even when she trips. Her family's from Mount Pleasant, those houses that always look ready for a design spread. I'm from the other side of the bridge, more in the wallet than the zip code. In practice, that already put us in different columns of their spreadsheet. When he called to say he was getting married, I had my chipped ceramic mug in hand. The coffee was bitter and hot, reminding me the day is always longer than you think. "Dad, I'm getting married," he said. I smiled the way only a father can, inside and out. I answered, "Let me cover the bar for the wedding. I choose what I fix. I choose to toast you." He laughed, choked up in that way that says more than a speech. "Dad, seriously? Maddie wants an open bar, it's pricey." I did the math my way, grabbed a beat-up notebook, a pen that stuttered on the first stroke and scratched numbers. Sold off some shed clutter, a generator that wouldn't start without a kick, a box of duplicate drill bits, 2 spools of cable that, let's be honest, were going to sit there gathering dust until I died. I added it up in pencil. A little over $2,800 just for the venue deposit. The drinks package, priced per person, which added up to just shy of 10 grand for that so-called premium open bar, for a good stretch of the reception. It squeezed me, but if you've never tightened the budget screws to hold a dream steady, you don't know what being a dad feels like. The place was pretty. Magnolia Hall, an event house on the edge of Shem Creek, egrets crossing the evening sky like someone storyboarded the scene. I signed a contract that came in a manila envelope, the edge pinched by a staple. The woman who walked me through it was Maggie Doyle, early 40s, steady clipboard, the kind who doesn't have to raise her voice to make the world behave. I asked for 2 things in writing. First, any change to the drink package only with my say-so. Second, if I asked to pause or tweak it, the bar would listen. She stamped it, gave me a smile that respects a man who knows what he's asking for, and we shook on it. I felt light, like twisting in the last screw and watching the lights come up. In the week of the wedding, the city smelled like summer and hot asphalt. St. Michael's holding more history than its walls can tell. Broad Street always an old friend, and Brown's Court Bakery baking across the block, sweetening the wind. I showed up to the rehearsal in what I had best. Blue blazer that had seen happier days, shoes brought to a shine with an old rag, hair tamed with pomade. I didn't need to match the aesthetic, I told myself. I just needed to fit in my son's heart, and I did, right up until the sentence. The photographer, Elise, was polite, efficient, the kind who smiles with her eyes while making the room obey the shutter. "Let's do groups," she said, and the so-called visual harmony began. Cynthia took up an invisible clipboard. Bride with parents, bride with bridesmaids, bride with immediate family. I waited for my name to appear the way a father learns to wait, hands steady, heart a little quick. When the sequence got to groom and family, I saw that micro tremor at the corner of her mouth. And I saw the tablet point at Rick. "Stable father figure," she said, behind Jason. "And me?" "Hal, better if you step out. The palette is off-white, navy, and gold. Your suit is plain. Your beard draws attention." Her perfume settled in the hallway like a memory from an expensive store. It was the world saying I threw the picture off balance. Someone, still don't know who, whispered, "You ruined the photos." Whispered, but to me it landed as a sentence. My heart did that dry jump the cardiologist calls nothing serious. Maybe so. But it felt like a screw biting the wrong thread, tearing. Jason opened his mouth, closed his mouth. "Dad, it's just for the pictures," he managed, and it hurt worse because it was him. Maddie planned a backdrop. I looked at my boy and from the taste in my mouth knew how easy it would be to become a bitter man. I chose to be the quiet one. "No problem," I said, and my voice came out calmer than I deserved. It wasn't just the photo, it was the chair they slid for me toward the corner at the rehearsal dinner, away from the head table, for logistics. It was Rick's joke, laughter like something bought in bulk. "Don't take it personal, Hal, it's just aesthetics." As if the word aesthetics were a license to walk through a soul. Then the bill came. The bill always shows up. I'd already laid down a little over $2,800 for the deposit. I'd greenlit the premium booze, the shiny bottles the catalog sells with notes of oak and nutmeg. I started tallying in my head, price for every little indignity. That golden taro leaf thing they called an appetizer, about $12 a head. The pearl-toned centerpieces, just over $80 per table. Those paper wristbands for the bar, around $37 for a pack of 100. I'd paid the big pieces, and I'd bought into the idea that fitting in is expensive. The officiant kept repeating "walk slowly" like a mantra. I walked slowly. Afterward, everyone drifted to the Palmetto room. I said I was going to grab a jacket. It was warm, but when your dignity goes cold, you always need a cover story. No one insisted. The silence of the non-invite weighs more than a closed door. Outside, Broad Street gave the day's heat back, and Shem Creek pushed a salty wind all the way to me. I sat in my old F-150, the seat creaking like always, the springs remembering every bag of cement they'd ever carried. I opened my phone and stared at the name that could change the course of things. Maggie Doyle, Magnolia Hall. Anger came looking for a horse. I saddled up calm. This wasn't about breaking anything, it was about teaching, and I had a contract. "Magnolia Hall, this is Maggie," she answered with the clink of glasses and metal in the background. "Maggie, it's Hal Whitman. I need a change for tomorrow. She breathed like someone who knows what it is to work with people. Go ahead. I said, pause the open bar. No free alcohol to start. Water, soda, and lemonade only. Put a discreet sign on the counter. Alcohol service temporarily suspended. If anyone asks, say the payer put the package on hold. If you have to serve booze, charge full price per drink. 2 seconds of silence. Inside me, it felt like 3 city blocks. Is everything okay, Hal? It is. I'm just adjusting the visual harmony of the budget. She got it. Good Pros read the subtext. The contract allows it. Email me you're okay. If anyone tries to reactivate, I'll call you. My gift, my tab, my call, I said. I hung up, and the man in my rear view wasn't after revenge. He wanted respect, and sometimes respect speaks the language of the wallet. At dinner, the light was amber and the wine was good for other people. Cynthia gave a speech about legacy and last names. Rick told jokes. Linda, my ex, looked at me with guilt. Guilt never lasts as long as the need to look good. Jason hugged me with a man's arms and a boy's hesitation. I slept with the sentence tapping like rain on a roof. You ruined the photos. I woke up that Saturday too early, the way men do when they don't trust other people's clocks. The sun looked in a hurry. I made strong coffee, swallowed it hot, felt the bitterness go down like courage, smoothed pomade through my hair, put on my tie slow, worked the knot with care. I can twist copper wire with my eyes closed. A tie takes patience. The sky over Shem Creek was a fresh blue, and the little boats were riding the tide back in, like folks who know when it's time to head home. I got to Magnolia Hall early. The place smelled like waxed wood rubbed in with surgical cloth. Fresh flowers, staff moving like backstage ballet. And there, on the bar, right side, as discreet as I'd asked, a chalkboard. Alcohol service temporarily suspended. The signature cocktails, the Heartini and the Jason Mule sign sat beside it. Pretty white letters promising something that, for now, wasn't coming. I didn't know. Yes, life loves that line, that the small board would turn into a mirror showing everyone's face. The ceremony was beautiful. The officiant hit the basics. The gulls did drone duty. The wind teased the veils with a practiced hand. I stood and applauded. I've always stood and applauded for Jason. When he blanked in school plays, when his team lost and he came home grass-stained and dusty, even when he drove me nuts through those teenage years. When they said I do, I said yes to myself. Yes to being there, even if it meant sitting outside the frame. The reception kicked off with good music and tables named after boats. Palmetto, Carolina Belle, Grace. Someone went to the bar and ordered a Heartini. The bartender smiled and poured lemonade. In 5 minutes, there was a line. By 10, a murmur. By 15, the sign was the headliner. Maggie spotted me and, with a tilt of her head, asked if we were sticking to the plan. I confirmed. The DJ, survival instincts kicking in, eased the volume down. Cynthia got there first, clutching a bouquet taller than she was. Maggie, why is that sign up? Her voice a clarinet out of tune. Maggie, cool as a matador, gestured discreetly toward me. Please speak with Mr. Whitman. I stood, the manila envelope with the contract tucked in my blazer. Rick came glued to her side, adjusting his belt. He always thinks fixing an accessory fixes character. Hal, what is this? Cynthia asked, smile for the camera, eyes like stone. The open bar is an essential part of the guest experience. And of whoever's paying, I answered, calm, almost kind. Today it starts closed. This is ridiculous, Rick puffed. You can't do this. I took out the manila envelope. Just paper, but signed paper is a hammer. I can, and I did. Jason walked up, cheeks flushed, not sure where to put his eyes. Dad. Why? I breathed. I wasn't there to humiliate. I was there to adjust. Yesterday I was told I ruined the photos. I got kept out of my own son's pictures because visual harmony mattered more than a father's face. Okay. Today, the harmony of the budget has an owner. It stays paused until I feel like I'm truly part of this. Not on paper. For real. The room wilted into silence. The clink of shifting ice turned into music. Madison, ever composed, stepped forward. "Hal, with all respect, this is a scene. It's our big day." "Yesterday was too," I said. Linda, my ex, appeared with wet eyes. "Hal, don't take it so hard. It was a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding trips over words, Linda. What I heard landed clean." Cynthia reached for the contract. I stepped back. "You're punishing everyone over a whim." "No, I'm teaching boundaries. If I didn't fit the frame, my money doesn't have to fit the mat." I said it sweetly. The body learns tone once the soul knows what it means. Jason took a breath like a diver. He looked at his mother, at Madison, then at me. "Enough," he said. "Dad's right. Yesterday I should have stood up for him. I blew it." When he said, "I blew it," the room came apart a little inside. The boy I buttoned up for his first day of school was there, inside the man in a suit. "Dad, I'm sorry. You're my father. I want you in the photos, all of them." Relief and anticipation hit at once, like a breeze filling a sail in the right direction. "I love you, son," I said, and the hug he gave me was a battery that recharged. "Mr. Whitman, should I turn the open bar back on?" Maggie asked, efficient as ever. "Yes," I said, "on one condition. The first round waits for a photo, groom and father, the one we missed." Elise was already ready. "Right now," she said. And when the camera clicked, I could almost hear a book snap shut. The tide had turned. The photo came out the way it needed to, me and Jason on the dock, water the color of old pennies behind us, a flag snapping on the mast. I went back into the hall and watched glasses bloom on trays like metal flowers. The music rose, and for a while, life found the beat again. Maddie came over and apologized with a sincerity you can't rehearse. I took it. Linda followed, and her guilt dipped her chin less than her gratitude lifted it. Even Cynthia, bouquet already a little tired, stopped in front of me, jaw set, voice looking for a lane. "I was out of line yesterday. I protect a picture I invent and forget the people in it. The world isn't as simple as we want, but those words had the right weight. Just remember he's my son," I said, "and now you're my family too. Even if my beard throws off the palate." She laughed, despite herself. I laughed back. Ice melts better that way. If I said it ended there, I'd be selling short the sense of humor fate sometimes has. Someone filmed the chalkboard at the bar, filmed the little argument, filmed the hug, filmed the first round going out after the photo. The video landed on one of those low-country wedding Instagrams, Carolina Vows. In a few hours there were comments, people telling similar stories, people calling me a real dad, people calling me every name you can imagine. There was also the handful saying I was a tyrant. The internet's a busy street. Everyone passes by, not everyone stops. Some shout from their windows. Sunday morning I woke early again, out of habit. The kitchen window turns into a tiny movie screen when the sun hits it. The phone rang as I capped the coffee pot. An unfamiliar number. "Mr. Whitman? This is Louise Harper from the Low Country Ledger. The open bar story reached us. I'd like to hear your side." I laughed on the inside. I never saw my life on a printed page, even a local one. I spoke to her the way I speak to everyone. No frills. I told her about the contract, the "you ruin the photos," the sign at the bar, the condition on the first round. I told her about my son's hug. I asked her to leave out names that didn't need to be on the record. She wrote a short, straight piece with a headline that still makes me grin. "Dad shuts down open bar after being cut from photos, and gets the only toast that mattered." It wasn't defamatory. It was a mirror the city looked into. Across the bridge in Mount Pleasant, some folks didn't like what they saw in the mirror. The defamatory paper, as Cynthia first called it, made the family WhatsApp, turned into brunch chatter at the aunt's house with all the porcelain. Some tried to paint what I did as emotional blackmail. I let them burn their ink. Anyone who lives in the sun knows there's such a thing as shade. What I did was simple. When they took me out of the frame, I took my money out of the frame too. And the frame felt the gap. The public side had its colorful ripples. The DJ messaged me, "Mr. Hal, respect. I've seen dads disappear. I've never seen a dad teach like that." The bartender, his name's Kyle, I found out later, posted a photo of the chalkboard with the caption, "When the payers got a contract and a backbone." Future brides on Magnolia Hall's email list got a new addendum. Changes to sponsored packages require the sponsor's express approval. Maggie laughed when she mentioned it on the phone. "You became a clause, sir." And then a wedding etiquette blog, Southern Etiquette Now, ran a tidy little piece. Respect isn't a decor accessory. It laid out the basics. The groom's father exists, photos tell a story, aesthetics can't become an excuse. And at the end, a line. If your face warmed reading this, it's for you. I don't follow any blog, but Linda sent me the link with a "Did you see?" I did. And I couldn't help thinking sometimes we need a public nudge for the mask to drop without a fight. At the wedding itself, the public counterpunch had that quiet sweetness you don't brag about out loud. Some guests, especially from the bride's side, came over to pat my shoulder. Sincere or opportunistic, I don't know. I do know the look Jason gave me as the night slid back into rhythm was what I'd always wanted to see. Respect without fear, affection without guilt. "Dad," he said at one point, smiling, "the Jason mule tastes better after you." I hugged the pun and said the mule pulled its weight, and yes, there was a little bit of unmasking. A bridesmaid, the one who may have whispered, "You ruined the photos," though I'll never know, came over, wary, glass in hand. "Look," I repeated what I heard Cynthia say earlier. "It was ugly, I'm sorry." It wasn't about pointing fingers. It was about letting that finger stop shaking. "We learn," I said. She nodded, maybe learning right then. The night ended beautifully. Stand By Me playing and me dancing with my boy like when he was 6 and we did 2 steps left, 2 right, fake tripping down the hallway at home. I ate shrimp and grits, tasted the light bite of lemon on the rim of my glass, toyed with my tie like you worked loose a screw that set too tight. I gave a short speech, the size of what matters. I'm a simple man. Tonight I wanted 2 things, respect and to see my son happy. Thank you for giving me both. The room applauded. It wasn't for me. It was for the idea that sometimes you plant your foot so the other person stops stepping on it. I got home late, draped my jacket over a chair, slipped my shoes off at the door, same as always. Sat on the porch. The wind moved through the trees, and the Ashley made that sound that mixes leaves with memory. I checked my phone. Elise, the photographer, had sent a link. There it was, the picture that mattered. Me and Jason on the dock, water carving around our shoulders. My beard exactly where it's always been. On my face, and on the face of his stories. One more thing made me smirk. 18 missed calls from Cynthia, all right in the middle of the reception dust-up. I didn't ignore them out of cruelty. I left them as a reminder that if you want to call someone when the tide comes in, it's best not to cut them out of the photo the day before. Sunday morning, Jason's phone rang early, and then mine. "Dad," he said, "thank you, not just for the bar, for teaching me not to go quiet when it counts. It's one of the few lines I keep in an inner drawer, next to the 2 or 3 that hold me up on hard days." I said, "I learned to speak up too late. You get to learn early." We went to lunch, just the 2 of us, at a diner on Rivers Avenue. Griddled burgers with cheese sliding off one side, mashed potatoes that tasted like childhood, coffee poured through a filter that looked like an old sock, the kind that fixes 2 or 3 things inside. He told me about work, targets, worries. I told him about the shop, the radio I'm rehabbing, a silly memory from when he broke a vase and hid under the table for 20 minutes thinking no one could see him. We laughed loud. I said Maddie had invited me to see the album proofs and I'd go, but if my beard went missing on any page that mattered, I'd lock the ice cream freezer at the next party. He laughed louder than I expected. The next week, Cynthia called. "Hal, can I stop by to talk?" Her voice had no tablet and pearls arrogance. It had an honest fatigue. I said yes. She showed up with a lemon pie. Southern etiquette says you bring sweets when you're wrong. She sat in the living room chair, the same one that babysat my jacket on the wedding night. She looked around, and I saw her actually looking. She saw Jason's graduation photo on the shelf, the rubber duck that was his and I kept, the amateur fishing trophy I won on an old May morning. "I grew up learning to control everything," she said. "I use color palettes on life. I forgot people are flesh, not fabric swatches." "I control things too, Cynthia," I said. "I control screws. Difference is, when the head strips, I stop, breathe, re-drill. With people, you can do something similar. Back off the force, give space, thread back in with care." She nodded, and I realized the conversation was simpler than I'd feared. "I'm sorry," she said at last. I said apologies are welcome, as long as they turn into practice. She agreed. We went to the porch, drank lemonade, and for the first time I saw she could be a good grandmother one day, if life gives us that gift. Rick showed up a little later, on his own, holding a carrot cake. I don't know if they were running a dessert apology circuit, but it worked. "Hal, I butt in when I ought to hang back. I like to adjust a belt and call it useful." I looked at him and saw a man doing the best he could with the tools he had. "We all have belts we fuss with in the mirror, Rick," I said. "Some are leather, some are ego. The trick is knowing when it doesn't need a new hole." He exhaled like I'd stamped a form. We're ridiculous that way sometimes. And because life's got its own humor, we got a smaller toast I've kept. Magnolia Hall emailed the final bill a few days later. It read, "Manager's courtesy adjustment, goodwill discount." They knocked off $125 and change for inconvenience due to the temporary adjustment. I laughed to myself. Inconvenient. It was the word of the week. I sent, square and clean, half of it to Elise with the memo line, "For listening," and half I slipped into a little tin in the shop with other coins and scraps that hold pieces of stories. When the tin filled up a few months later, I bought a wall clock with a hand that goes tick-tock. At home, the silence never went fully silent again. It's good to remember time moves. If working a screwdriver taught me anything, it's that there's no useless part. Even mistakes have a function if you use them as a template, not to repeat them. Being a father is the longest, least paid job there is. The payback comes in moments like these. When you don't go quiet, when you teach in a voice that doesn't shout, when the other person learns by watching. I didn't do what I did to turn the party into a courtroom. I did it to say a simple line that, if said by many, would become a chorus. I'm here. The ones who called me a tyrant will settle up with someone else someday. Not with me, but with their own conscience. The ones who understood, those are the folks I want close at the next toast. Speaking of toasts, weeks later we all had dinner at Jason and Madison's place. A table full of food that actually feeds you, cold beer, now officially allowed, quiet laughter at the edges. I brought a bottle of bourbon I picked up for about $53, not for the price, but for that wood-kissed taste. We made a simple toast with the right words, to the boundaries that protect love. And at the end of the night before I left, Madison tugged me into the office, opened her laptop, showed me the album layout. There wasn't a palette that cut me out. The beard was on every page that mattered. I joked, good thing, because I would have padlocked the ice cream freezer. She laughed, that easy laugh that finally didn't ask permission from anyone, and said, "We'll be sure not to need it." That next Monday, before the roof warmed in the sun, I went down to the Ashley with my coffee mug. The wind brought salt and memory. I thought about the sentence I wanted to leave behind. Not for the city, not for Instagram, but for my son and anyone who wants to hear it. If the world says you ruin the picture, don't fight the camera. Just stop financing the album. A photo is arrangement, love is roots. And roots don't fit outside the frame. The rest we toast, to open bar or not. Subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts about the story in the comments. See you in the next one.